Thank you, Madam Chair, and I thank our witnesses for being here with us today and for our panelist that's going to be joining us virtually. Title 42 is a legal mechanism that Border Patrol uses, that our law enforcement professionals use to try and stem the tide of millions of illegal immigrants crossing our southern border. We're losing our country down there. In the summer of 2020, the criminal cartels were incredibly well funded, very well organized. They have deep counsel within their networks, within their chain of command. A lot of whom have been educated in America. They know American laws and American politics. These cartels run a vast, well-organized network that traffics human beings and drugs into America. Why are they coming to America? Because it's a big market for them. It's their business model, and they're very good at it. And in by the summer of 2020, when it began to be part of the narrative that there was a chance that then candidate Biden might win the presidential election, the cartels used their networks to begin prepping. They got ready. They beefed up their infrastructure. Based on my data on the ground through Central America and Mexico, all the way through Venezuela and Colombia, where the pipeline in the Western Hemisphere begins, I was advised that we can anticipate as many as 2 million illegal crossings in 2021. It never happened before. I talked about those numbers. It turned out I was off a little bit. I was low. We had 2.4 million illegal crossings in 2021. Their pipelines were filled. They were not interrupted by a hurricane or earthquake, which was a possibility, but didn't happen. And they ramped up their capacities in the summer. Nothing was stopping them. It's the equivalent to having a passenger in every seat. The cartels were making billions and sending untold amounts of incredibly deadly drugs into our country. You had 2.4 million illegal crossings, including 500,000 that were young men plugged into the criminal networks in Mexico and Central America, hooked up through their cartel connections to cross, a lot of them owing their crossing money in the form of criminal services by delivering sex, slave labor, prisoners, and tragic souls who had fallen into that trap, and by carrying drugs, a backpack at a time, into our country. Where did those guys go? They went deep into America, to a neighborhood near you. They all want to come here and be successful in their job, and their job is to be part of the criminal network. Maybe they can get out of that trap, but it's very hard. You know, once someone goes down that path, it's very difficult for a young man that's involved in criminal networking, wherever he is. It's very hard to get out. So they've crossed into our country, and they've been dispersed across America now. This is why your border communities might not show this as part of the business model. And boy, if you work for the cartel, you better not mess with the cartel's business model, which requires passage across our southern border for human trafficking and drug trafficking. They have the category of human beings that cross over and want to interact with professional law enforcement. They turn themselves in. They're largely not violent, good people looking for a better life. We prefer that they come in legally and access our country through legal means, other than abuse of the asylum system, which those laws should be strengthened. But there's the other category of the young men that avoid contact with law enforcement at the border. They're coming here for no good. And Title 42 has allowed us to stem the tide. If we take Title 42 away, our country cannot sustain. We're headed for 3 million this year. People looked at me like I was crazy at the beginning of last year when I said 2 million. But my sources were right. And America cannot support it, regardless of how peaceful you find communities here and there, son. Our nation cannot sustain this. I would say to my colleagues across the aisle in good faith, if you have a problem with Title 42, by all means, use your constitutional access to our judicial system, challenge it in court and defeat it. If you think it's wrong and illegal, unconstitutional, by all means, defeat it judicially. Right now, it's a legal tool that's needed on the border. And if we take it away, I'm afraid the demise of our nation will accelerate. What we're witnessing right now will become worse and worse and worse. Madam Chair, I yield.